Alright, so I decided to look at the first game that we played on May 5th, 2015, which I chose over the other one because this game seemed more chaotic and also less clear cut. It seemed like we had less of an idea of our win conditions and how exactly to play out the fights. So there are some really small things coming up until we get on to the later part. And the first small thing is the Katarina ward. She drops a ward at a minute 8. Now, as of now, our vision is nothing. We have no wards outside in the river as a defensive measure. And we cannot be sure that Katarina doesn't have backup. So, because of that, there's no reason to stay here and try to kill the ward, because you can't kill it at level 1. The only champions that can kill a ward at level 1 is Leona. So, you're going to put 2 auto attacks on it, but you're not getting anything out of it. In the end, it's just a waste of time. And it also puts you at the risk of, if they were invading, because we have no vision of the rest of the team, if they were invading, you would have given up first blood really quickly and easily right here. So if you see a ward, next time, unless there's 2 of you in the bush, so it's guaranteed that you can kill the ward, just leave. There's no reason to contest that vision because it's not uncontestable. Alright. The first mistake, minor mistake that we make is in bot lane. So I come down for a gank at about 5 minutes. And here shit. Alright. And they're all low. I see the opportunity for a counter gank. Not to mention that it looks like they're going to stick around. So I come down and I get in the bush. And this is where understanding your role and your importance to the fight comes into effect. I'm level 4 and Thresh is level 3 and Draven's level 3. But if you actually look at the stats, Thresh has more combat stats than I do. Because Thresh has a runic shield, along with a charge on runic shield, so he has a heal on that runic shield, and you bring a lot more utility to the fight. And this is a big thing. There's 2 kinds of supports. There's the engage ham supports, and then there's the true supports, the supports that provide utility to the team. And Thresh is actually more of a utility support than an engage support. Thresh can be used as engage, but in the case here where I'm coming in as Sejuani, there's no reason for Thresh to start the fight or to put him in a position where he has to start the fight. So I run off and I start hiding. And they take the bait, which is cool. Now the big thing is, notice I'm at full health, Thresh is low, Draven's low, and Sion's low, and Jinx is low. Walking up here in front of me is a mistake because the first thing Morgana's going to do, because all Morganas do this, is they're going to send a blind Q into the bush because she knows we're in the bush and the hitbox is huge. There's no reason to be in front of me. That's actually why I'm back here. If you were back here with me and we avoided the Q, we could re-engage. And I would be able to get on Morgana because Q doesn't give vision. She has to walk in to check to see if her Q hit anybody. I would be able to get on Morgana while you would be able to get in on Sion, thus preventing the big threats from reaching Draven. And that would have ended up with Sion being CC'd here, giving up a kill, resetting Draven's W so he can go chase after either Jinx or Morgana. and you wouldn't have given up first blood. You have to remember that because you bring a hook, a flay, and a lantern, you bring a lot more to the fight than I do. All I need to do as Sejuani is go in, land my Q W E combo for the slight stun and the slow, and then my job's done. It doesn't matter if I die or not. Whereas Thresh can continue to be useful throughout the fight. So you don't want to put yourself in a situation when you're putting yourself at risk, especially when you have a full health Sejuani that is able to tank up the damage for you while you can sit in the back line and do your stuff. So while this fight didn't go awfully for us, it definitely could have gone a lot better. And if we played this right, it would have been a 2 for 0. And if we're lucky, a 3 for 0. But definitely at least a 2 for 0. Alright. The next minor issue we have is top lane. So Martinez, and I know you do this a lot, is when you get ready to fight, you pop your OT immediately. And the problem with your OT is that it costs 20% of your current health, while regenning at level 1 40% of your max health. Now, 20% of your current health isn't a big deal when you're at 50% hit points, because that's only 10% of your max health. At the end, you're still gaining 30% health. But when you're at full health, and you're not even taking damage yet, there's no reason to pop your OT, because you're losing 20% of your current health, which is actually 20% of your max health, and then only getting 40% of that health back. You're paying a lot for a ability that you don't need to use yet. And it does affect your combat ability. There's as a Mundo, generally you want to pop your OT somewhere between 66% to 50% of full HP, unless you are absolutely incredibly behind and you are going to get just slaughtered and you know you're going to take a lot of burst to get one shot. As long as you know you're not one-shottable, and you aren't against a Cho'Gath at level 6, you should just hold on to that ult for a little bit so that you don't have to pay nearly as much to pop it. Alright. There's a slight mistake we make here in regards to movement. So we have a ward here. I'm going to switch this. We have a ward here. We know Sion's coming down. We just saw Katarina come through here. We know Jinx is here. And your ward is about to die. Now, you're making the right play right now by going back to lane and hugging tower. But the second your ward dies, you decide to go ward up again. And the issue with that is there's no reason to ward up right now because Draven is at his tower. There's no threat that will come from here. If anything, this is the most important ward to keep up, and a secondary ward would be over here, because this is not a viable ganking path. So there's no rush for you to come out and ward here. You can wait for Draven to push up this lane, let it push up, and then move with you dual up to the bush to ward. This is usually what I do when I'm playing bot lane with my support. I will always walk with my support to ward, because there's no reason to walk into the fog of war to fight for vision by yourself. Now, as you continue to do this, right now there's no huge warning signs that this is bad, but also there's no absolute reason that you should keep on walking up. Jinx is right here, and trying to ward this bush right now doesn't make any sense. Morgana has just shown up, Jinx has shown up. Even if you get away, you're going to take a lot of damage just for putting a ward that you could put down later that is not necessary for 30 seconds to a minute. And Draven is way too far away to support you. So you need to improve your communication with your bot lane partner. Let them know, hey, I'm moving up, come with me, or hey, I'm staying in lane, stay with me, so that people don't get put in a situation like this. In the same situation, if Draven started over here, Brian could have thrown out a hook and gotten a pretty fast kill on a Jinx because Draven has BF sword to Jinx's pickaxe. Like this is a winning fight. But as of now, because of the positioning of you two in bot lane, it's not optimal by any means. So just a little bit more communication and understand that, you know, just because a ward has timed out doesn't mean you need to replace it. You have time. Just pay attention to where the creep wave is and where you would like will be for the next 30 seconds to a minute. But this leads into a fairly bad fight that by all means should be winnable, but ends up turning out pretty badly. Alright. The next one is roughly 15 minutes. And it is the turret. Alright, so I have just handed off blue to Mike. And Katarina is hard pushing. She's got a pretty decent wave here along with a cannon minion. And a cannon minion is one of those things that generally you don't want to miss out on. Now Mike makes the call to go top, which is alright. Although inadvisable in a cannon minion wave, I would have personally waited another wave. Cleared that out because you just got blue, you have your cooldowns, you have your W, you know, you have a lot of AoE damage. You can clear this really quickly and then head up. But because of this, and a lot of the roaming that Mike has been doing, I've had to cover mid lane quite a bit. This is probably my third time covering and killing a wave at mid lane, which I don't mind because I get the money, but obviously it's inoptimal because now I can't exert pressure bot where, you know, definitely could use some help. And pressure top isn't that useful. The thing about Mundo is that Mundo is a ticking time bomb no matter what happens, because Mundo's at half Cho'Gath CS if you pay attention to it now. Mundo's gonna lose lane, and you know, depending on how he plays in the matchup and how lucky Martinez gets, he usually either goes even or loses lane. But it doesn't matter, that's not part of our win condition. We don't need Mundo to win lane. In fact, it's actually helpful for Mundo to lose his tower. At about 16 minutes, give or take, it's not a bad idea for Mundo to lose his tower. Because what that means is a champion like Cho'Gath with nothing but AoE wave clear, his QW combo clears minions instantly, and he can't even last hit minions without doing some sort of AoE damage unless he turns his spikes off. So Cho'Gath is naturally going to push. And because Cho'Gath is naturally going to push, it's safe to let this tower fall at about 16 minutes because we don't really have objectives to contest here. We don't need to worry about Baron. So we can let this turret fall and have Cho'Gath push the minions in towards our tier 2 top and have Mundo safely farm up here. Having Mundo safely farm up here puts pressure on Cho'Gath to farm, which puts him in a roaming pattern. And the problem is Cho'Gath does not have the mobility, nor does he have the instant kind of burst at level 6 to be that great of a roamer. It puts him at a disadvantage. Cho'Gath wants to stay in lane, he wants to get some more minions, you know, he wants to farm up. And if we gave up the turret at 16 minutes, it would have been fine because Cho'Gath now has to take extra risks to come farm or walk all the way down to bot lane, which can be easily rectified by, instead of having wards here and here, warding up bot lane here and here. If we shift our warding pattern down, Cho'Gath gets fucked because now he cannot farm safely in confidence all the way down here. So, and as you'll see later on in the game, Mundo's going to get to that point where no matter what, if we bide our time, we're going to win the game. because Mundo's going to get tanky, and also because we run a 3-tank system, Mundo is our fallback late game plan. We don't need Mundo to be strong right now. We just need Mundo to exist. Mundo can't be 0 and 10, mind you, but he also doesn't have to be, 2 and 0 with 130 CS at 15 minutes. So top lane pressure isn't really all that important. If anything, Mike and Mundo, I propose Veigar, Mundo. Veigar should take responsibility for keeping a ward here at all times, and Mundo should keep responsibility for keeping the ward near Baron Pit at all times. Once we have those 2 wards, roaming potential becomes pretty low. Alright, 17-19. Alright, so this is a 4v5. Let me set this up. We were initially doing Dragon, and then because Cho'Gath had taken the tower earlier, he had completely roamed down. So it's a 5v4 at Dragon. And we get away relatively cleanly. Mundo OT whiffs because we force him to fight in the jungle. Again, this is part of our strong point. We have a lot of AoE CC that doesn't care about terrain. So Mundo wastes his ulti, and Brian throws out a hook at Cho'Gath. Now, the threat right now is not Cho'Gath, because Cho'Gath has no mobility, no gap closers, and he has Merc Treads. On the other hand, Sion has a decent amount of base damages that you still want to keep him away from Hong. So adjusting the pull a couple degrees would have changed the way this fight goes. But the biggest thing here is that because it's a 5v4, Hong and I and Brian to an extent know that we need to get behind this tower. We want to equalize this 5v4 into 5v4 plus tower, so that we can fight this. And with that in mind, you have to remember our formation. Veigar is by himself, and our game plan has been, because we run the 2-carry system, to have Mike and Hong paired up so that Draven is always permanently bodyguarded by the support, and in this case Veigar, Mike, is always permanently bodyguarded by the jungle. There's no reason to ever try to flank by yourself, again, because we do not have the advantage right here in a 5v4. We just cannot outdamage them, and we can't win that fight. Now this fight extends for a long time, and eventually we come back and we pick up some kills on the return, on the run back. But it definitely could have gone a lot more smoothly. Alright. At 1840 or so, we make a very stupid mistake, and this is obviously just very simple. We see Cho'Gath coming up on a ward, and we know he's coming towards us at this point. There's no reason that we should have just stayed here. We knew that, I mean, this was telegraphed. We knew it was going to happen. Canceling our backs and taking another 5 seconds would be highly preferable to feeding Cho'Gath a double kill. Don't think there's really much more to say about that. But yeah, we definitely have to be less greedy. Alright. At 1940, Mike comes up to farm. And this is why I have the ward here. So this is really just paying attention to the minimap. There's no reason to be too greedy, you know, just this is just a case of all of us missing the minimap indicators. Because from the time they show up on the ward at 1952 to the time they actually fight, you have 10 seconds. And 10 seconds is enough to move 4,000 units, which is a distance from here to tier 2. To go along with that, we do have issues with ward distribution. And I propose that we adopt a system of zoning wards. Because if you look at the way our wards are set up, the support and the ADC will generally have their bot side warded. I will generally have the bottom half of the river warded. And I propose that Mundo and Veigar take responsibility for the top half of the river and the bottom of the top half of the river. So in this case, Thresh would be in charge of wards, for example, here, here, and here, while Sejuani, I would be responsible for wards here, here, and here. And Veigar, because we don't want to cut too much into income, would be responsible for trinket warding either here, here, or here. And Mundo would be responsible for warding this or this. This would give us much better ward coverage if we got these locations down, because vision is and has been and continues to be quite a large problem for this team. Alright. Next lesson is at 2140. Okay, so the setup for this is we have just dived Jinx and killed her, and Katarina's here, and she wants blood. So Draven's free and clear, and I see Katarina and I start getting away. Now at this point, Draven asks me if I'm okay, and I tell him I'm fine, just go. And I safely get over the wall. Now there's no reason to play aggressive up here, because Katarina is at full health, and Katarina is still Katarina. She may not be ahead or that powerful, but in the events that something happens, like a Q bouncing dagger, she's going to get a reset, and this is going to turn very badly. So I cannot give you any support. It's going to be a 1v1, and even in a 1v1, there's no reason to try to fight the Katarina. We got out. We got our advantage here. We got our kill. We have to start learning when to take our victories as they come and just back off. We know that we have 2 additional enemy players coming down for us. So this is going to be a rough escape even if we don't stop the fight. But it's definitely doable. In the event that Draven lived here and was with me here, we actually could have killed Morgana instead and picked up another kill. Of course, that's hindsight 2020, you know, things will unfold as it works, but you know, one of the big things is just hold your aggression. When you pick up victories, it doesn't necessarily have to snowball into massive leads. You can just take small victories and whittle down your opponents over time. The next clip is at 22:14. Okay. Hmm. No, that was incorrect. Alright, the next clip really starts when we start sieging this tower. And we have advantage on this tower, we know it. It's a 4v5. They have their main, they're really only ranged wave clear Jinx dead. So we know we can definitely siege. And we see the teleport come in. That should be a obvious sign that it's Cho'Gath, because Cho'Gath is the only player on their team with teleport. So as of right now, we have Katarina, which is visible top, killing minions. Cho'Gath teleporting in, Sion at the tower visible, and Morgana Mia. And this fight is actually winnable. We can win this and we can fight this, but we also have to pay attention to the zoning and the spacing and our fight location. Because they have two of their tankiest members right here in Sion and Cho'Gath, diving is not a great idea. Sion drops everyone low with this combo. And we disengage, which is the right move. Once we disengage, the team as 4 will move back out of tower range right here. And this gives us more room to fight. Because of the location of the tower and the location of these openings, fighting over here gives us a lot more space to work with in between the bushes. And because Katarina was on the map but is now Mia, we can assume that she is coming down to this fight. So coming from top lane to mid lane gives us roughly 20 seconds. We know how much time that we have to fight this, and there's no reason for Mundo to be here tanking this up. I remember calling disengage from the tower, and the rest of us did. So if Mundo disengaged from this tower, this fight would have gone completely differently. Right here, Mundo's taking most of his damage from the tower itself. Morgana's not a damaged champion. Sion is low and out of cooldowns. Cho'Gath has burned all his cooldowns, and he's not building any cooldown reduction either. So the only threat on their team is the tower. There's no reason to push our team into here to fight, because in a few seconds, when Sion's Q comes off cooldown and Cho'Gath's Q comes off cooldown, we're gonna be stuck fighting along this line. We cannot edge up to the top half of this lane because Katarina would love to jump out of the bushes or the Fog of War and pick up the resets because of how low our team is. So that's the strategic limitation. It has us closing off this entire zone of the map. We need to fight on the bottom half because we know Katarina is going to be coming from the top half. She doesn't have teleport, and she was seen killing minions right here when we started the fight. And fighting under turret would push us into a small area about this big, which makes us all sitting ducks for another combo Q from Sion and Q from Cho'Gath, which would kill our support and our ADC straight out. And then would put me low enough to be Cho'Gath OT'd. So we just need to understand that the correct way to fight this is to back off, force them to chase in their greed because we are low, and then engage again the second they move past this line and we have freedom to use open terrain against them. if we had fought in the previous location, right there, a Scion queue just came up over here, and a Cho'Gath queue just came up over here. If we had fought here, we might have picked up a kill on Scion and Morgana, but we would have given up so much more to Cho'Gath, who is already 6-1. It's just not worthwhile. So remember, when someone makes a call, just try to follow the call. 5 people following a bad call is still better than 4 people following a good one and 1 person just randomly doing things. The next fight of note comes at 33:51. Okay, so we have killed Jinx again, and we are pushing for Baron, and I don't remember who made this call. If it was me, I apologize. This was obviously a bad call. But there is no way to outspike the Cho'Gath. Even at level 18 with 1,000 true damage, Cho'Gath, because he's going AP Cho'Gath with 484 AP, his ultimate is doing 1,338. It would be impossible to take Baron without killing Cho'Gath first. And we just did not take that into account and give enough respect to the Cho'Gath ultimate. We end up losing Baron, but it's not actually that big of an issue, because by this point, again 33 minutes in, even though Mundo used to be at half Cho'Gath CS, the gap hasn't grown any wider. In fact, it's grown smaller, and Mundo is back in the game. And we start winning the fight straight out because our team just starts scaling again. So what that means is we didn't actually need this Baron. It would have been nice to have, but it was not part of our win condition. Us being this aggressive on this Baron was a bad call, because we would have won the game even without the Baron. Because at this point, 33 minutes in, we're actually winning fights. And we're winning them fairly decisively. Ever since about 28 minutes to 30 minutes, when Mundo hit the power spike of 3 items, we actually started winning pretty decisively, because Mundo is now able to perform his job correctly, that of just keeping 2 or 3 people on their team occupied and away from the rest of our team. And the last one of note, as far as mistakes we made, was at 38:08. Alright, so this is really high risk. I'm showing this all through whatever vision we have now. We have tons of vision in the bottom half of our jungle. We have some vision in the entrances of their jungle. And we know Scion's coming up in 3 seconds. Draven makes a call to kill blue, which is perfectly fine. We had just nearly aced their team, we had killed a bunch of them, and taking blue is fine. But there is no reason to be this greedy. Having a ward here, in the event that Scion comes back down again, it's not going to save you. Scion has ultimate. You're not going to be able to get out of here. Luckily, Scion's slow on the comeback. And the question really becomes, after now that you've taken blue and then got lucky with Gromp, the question is, what the hell are you doing running further into their jungle? There's no reason to be here. Everybody's Mia, we know Jinx is here, and we know Cat's here, and everybody else has just come back to life. This is the late game after all. If Draven dies here at level 17, we're looking at a 50-second death timer. 50 seconds where we potentially would not be able to contest any objectives, and we might not even be able to defend our towers. Because this far into the game, a 5 item Draven is a hell of a lot more powerful than the tower. So if they do push for the inhib, there's a good chance that we will lose a fight at the inhib and then thus lose the game. We cannot be taking these crazy risks this late into the game. The other big thing that doesn't actually have a clip to go along with it is the fact that we never actually grouped until very late. Usually our team is always about grouping and fighting. We are always about the 5v5 because we run a Wombo team fight comp that just wants to engage and fight all the time. And you can see that at 1930, people are still in lane. Everybody is still in lane. We're not getting together and putting pressure on turrets and objectives. Now, we lost top tower because Mundo lost to Cho'Gath, which is whatever, and we lost mid tower because of all the roams top that Veigar tried to do to get Mundo ahead, which doesn't really pay off in the end because Mundo would still be in the game no matter what. And then we lost spot tower because they agreed to group before we did. We should really be aiming for having one of our lanes at least have a tower down by about 16 minutes. We need to put more pressure and more importance on taking towers. Whether it be bot lane or mid lane, it would be important to get a tower down by about 16 minutes, or at the very least before 18, so that for the mid game that we can start getting together as a group of 4 with Mundo split pushing on TP instead of getting caught out like this. The enemy team has started grouping and we are just not responding, which is why the mid game to the early late game goes so badly for us and becomes such a hard game. This game is not hard to win. We were never behind by much gold, even though we did not play this correctly. At the most, we were down by about 6,000 gold at one point, even though we didn't play to the strength of our team, and a lot of times we were suiciding and playing overly aggressive and doing stupid things. So if we paid attention to our win conditions and our team strengths, this would have been a much faster game. This ended up being about 46 minutes, and if we played it correctly, because of how strong our team is and how well our team works against their team, because of the Sejuani ulti, because of Draven out damaging and being ahead of Jinx, because Veigar is absolutely huge. Like our 5v5 ability to fight would have completely won us the objective in game a lot earlier instead of making it touch and go for a while. For example, believe there is a fight after they got Baron. Alright, so alright, so after we get Baron, we have a team fight that demonstrates the strength of our 4v5. And it demonstrates the strength of us fighting in a location where we have the advantage. Like, we're down 5,000 gold at this point. Cho'Gath is absolutely huge. He's 13, 3, and 7. Jinx is, she's coming along. She's got some items. Katarina's still fairly behind, but she's starting to do some damage also. Like, these are not idle threats. And I'm trying to find it. Okay. This is one of the most important things for our team. Because of the way we run our team comps currently, we excel in areas that are closed off and require people to go through a choke while being open on the other side so that we have the ability to move. This is the kind of terrain we should always be looking for, whether it be a jungle path, like right here, forcing them to come through a choke here and giving us ability to move here, or our base. It doesn't matter. We have incredible ability to fight as long as we stick to our victory conditions. So I guess takeaway for this video is honestly going to be to temper our aggression and temper our snowball tendencies. There's no real reason to fight so hard for something after we win to try to push our advantages, if instead we can just win by getting many minor advantages. We don't always have to go for LCS big plays every time. And that's something that most of us honestly have to keep in mind.